Welcome to the first episode of Florida's Voice with Brendon Leslie. Thank you for joining us. Tonight we will talk with Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. on the fentanyl epidemic and new laws against hate crimes. Josh Hammer joins us to discuss all things Ron DeSantis. Alex Bruesewitz provides us the latest on Donald Trump. And Lee County Superintendent candidate Denis Carlin explains how she plans to reform the school board. And finally, we will have all the local news stories you won't see in the corporate media. This is Florida's Voice with Brendon Leslie. It's about damn time that Florida gets a newscast focused on the real and conservative news corporate media always ignores. There are so many bills going through Tallahassee that impact your lives going unreported. Our mission at Florida's Voice is to redefine the mainstream media through our hard-hitting reporting. Trust me, I was that corporate media zombie going day in and day out, telling the stories that don't matter so my bosses could get the clicks that they were so obsessed with. So I left. Founded Florida's Voice, and here we are today, bringing you the news that actually matters. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for supporting our mission and getting us to this point. And with all that said, let's get the show rolling. Florida is warning the company Morningstar Sustainalytics to change its business practices for allegedly discriminating against Israel. Governor Ron DeSantis, Attorney General Ashley Moody, and Chief Financial Officer Jimmy Petronas placed Morningstar on Florida's list of scrutinized companies that boycott Israel. The company has 90 days to cease or clarify business practices, or the state of Florida will not contract with the company or its subsidiaries. The state says Morningstar's research methodology categorizes companies as a risk for supporting Israeli interests in Judea and Samaria. Attorney General Ashley Moody says, quote, Florida will not stand by while companies use their economic power to attack Israel. Nearly 700 Americans have arrived safely back in Florida from Israel thanks to the state of Florida's rescue operation. Governor Ron DeSantis had signed an executive order to help rescue citizens who were stranded in Israel and also sent supplies to the country following Hamas's deadly terror attacks. The state partnered with Project Dynamo to help rescue them from the war-ridden region. The operation was also coordinated by State Senator Jay Collins, and all the travel expenses were covered by the state of Florida. Florida's state university system ordered universities Tuesday to dismantle student chapters under the national group known as, quote, National Students for Justice in Palestine. Chancellor Ray Rodriguez said in a letter the organization announced it was a part of the movement against Israel, referring to Hamas's attacks. It is a felony under Florida law to knowingly provide material support to a designated terrorist organization. At least 2 student chapters were deactivated in consultation with Governor Ron DeSantis. Florida Republicans united to support new U.S. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson of Louisiana. Johnson was formally voted in as the chamber's leader Wednesday. Florida Congresswoman Ana Paulina Luna says Johnson is arguably the most conservative speaker we will have the opportunity to have. Representative John Rutherford calls Johnson a servant leader with a proven conservative record. U.S. Representative Matt Gaetz originally spearheaded the ousting of former Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
I made all of you a promise when we filed the motion to vacate that we would have a Speaker of the House who was more conservative and more honest.
A Jewish Florida lawmaker flipped his presidential endorsement from Governor Ron DeSantis to former President Donald Trump. Florida's Voice senior reporter Amber Jo Cooper tells us why he made the switch.
Republican Representative Randy Fine has spent years passing legislation targeting anti-Semitism.
The attack in Israel was not an attack on a country. It was an attack on a people.
Earlier this year, he joined Governor Ron DeSantis in Israel for a bill signing combating anti-Semitic actions. But now the lawmaker who had previously endorsed the governor has switched his vote to the former president. Fine published a Washington Times op-ed saying the governor, quote, said almost nothing with regards to alleged anti-Semitic incidents in Florida. When it comes to action, Donald Trump has never let us down, Fine said in his article. But the DeSantis campaign called Fine's comments, quote, shameful political theater after the governor's actions to defend Israel.
These will be, by far, the strongest Iran sanctions that any state has enacted.
Following Hamas's attack, the governor proposed sanctions against Iran.
Resist
The governor has also spoken out against students that protested in favor of Hamas. Randy Fine sent a letter to the governor's office last week demanding that the governor use new laws to stop protests supporting Hamas's actions on campus. The governor's office said they had already sent memos reminding universities to protect the Jewish community from threats. In Orlando, Amber Jo Cooper reporting for Florida's Voice.
A special session will take place next month to address more sanctions against Iran. The state of Florida is demanding that Osceola County submit a plan to fix labeling problems with the county's vote-by-mail ballot envelopes. The Florida Department of State sent a letter to the Osceola County Supervisor of Elections after vote-by-mail envelopes were illegally labeled with a political party. The state says there are 2 instances where the county labeled ballot envelopes with a political affiliation. Osceola County tells Florida's Voice that they submitted a vote-by-mail ballot review procedure and a new checklist for training. The state plans to send observers to oversee the county's vote-by-mail process for the November special primary election. Florida lawmakers are preparing for a special session in November to tackle topics including Israel and tax relief. Florida's Voice editor-in-chief Lydia Nussbaum gives us the latest on what big tasks are ahead.
Florida stands with Israel.
Republican House and Senate leadership announced an upcoming special session to formally support the state of Israel and add sanctions against regimes like Iran.
We know the Iranian regime funds Hamas and assists other terror groups.
Governor Ron DeSantis had previously called for more Iranian sanctions.
And to block Iranian business in our state.
Lawmakers will also look at giving more resources to places such as Jewish day schools.
Florida is no place for anti-Semitism, hatred, or violence of any kind.
On top of this, GOP leadership wants to provide tax relief following Hurricane Idalia's destruction to the Big Bend region. And to help prepare for storms, the legislature will look at expanding the widely popular My Safe Florida Home program to help families harden their houses. GOP leadership also wants to make changes for students with unique abilities to receive scholarships. All of this taking place the week of November 6 in Tallahassee. Reporting in Fort Myers, Lydia Nussbaum for Florida's Voice.
Florida's Voice will keep you up to date with all the special session coverage you need to know about. Jacksonville taxpayers will pay thousands of dollars to cover Democrat Mayor Donna Deegan's expenses on her business trip to London. Our Florida Northeast reporter Michelle Vesserina has the story.
Nearly $20,000. That's how much Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan's trip to London with 2 city employees will cost taxpayers. Taxpayers will cover more than $6,000 of the mayor's London trip, including her hotel, food, and transportation. Deegan did pay for her airfare out of pocket. The other 2 employees cost taxpayers a combined total of about $15,000. Deegan met with over 75 businesses to identify business expansion opportunities.
I learned a whole lot in a very fast hurry about financial technology and health technology and some of the other business entities that we're working with over there. But I think we're going to end up getting a lot of business for Jacksonville out of it.
The mayor's trip contrasts with Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters. His law enforcement mission trip to Israel did not cost taxpayers any money. Previous Jacksonville Mayor Alvin Brown took 2 trips to London, which cost taxpayers about $7,000 in 2013 and about $5,300 in 2014. Previous Mayor Lenny Curry also took a trip to London in 2015 with a total cost of about $2,500. In Jacksonville, Michelle Vesserina reporting for Florida's Voice.
Deegan's trip ended at the Jaguars and Falcons game, which will not cost taxpayers any money. Fentanyl now sits at the top of the list for causes of death in the United States for people ages 18 to 45. While the Biden administration keeps our southern border wide open and fails to address the root of the problem, there are some people who are willing to stand up for the health and safety of our country. Someone who's doing their best to fight the fentanyl epidemic is Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters, who joins us now. Sheriff, I heard a little rumor on the street. I keep hearing it. You may be the coolest sheriff in Florida.
Listen, man, I appreciate that. Listen, there's a lot of good sheriffs in Florida, man. We're blessed.
I'll keep speaking into existence. Real news. That's all we talk about here at Florida's Voice. All right, let's get back to serious subject here. Do you believe that the Biden open border is directly linked to the fentanyl overdose numbers?
I think I can tell you this for sure, Brendon. We've had at least one major case that we worked in Jacksonville that's connected to the new generation Mexican cartel, where we seized over 4 kilograms of fentanyl, which is 2 million fatal doses. So I believe so. I believe it's a major problem in our country. I think something has to be done about it.
Sheriff, I'd like to get your reaction to this. Here is Secretary Mayorkas being grilled for not taking responsibility for the drug flow through our open borders. Let's take a look.
Attorney General Garland said this is part of a comprehensive strategy by the cartels to flood these drugs into the United States by overwhelming Border Patrol. You're clearly losing that battle, and you won't even apologize to these parents like so many other parents who have lost their teenage children to counterfeit drugs laced with fentanyl.
We are bringing unprecedented force in the fight against
And you're
fentanyl.
losing.
He's bringing unprecedented force to the fight. You know, those wide open border in the southern part of our nation. What's your reaction to his response there?
I mean, quite frankly, it's not whatever you said. The force that you're saying they're using, it's not accurate. And unfortunately, I'm actually born in El Paso, Texas. I've lived in Florida now for over 30 years, and I've seen what that border looks like. Unless we do something about it, I sympathize very deeply with our southern border residents in our southern states when it comes to the Southwest, that is, and what the problem is, and they really, really need to shut it down. It's as simple as that. Just close it.
Now let's switch gears a little bit to more local issues. Your department requested 216 new officers. You were only granted 40, which was approved by Mayor Deegan and the City Council. Does the shortage in new numbers affect your day-to-day department responsibilities?
I think if we don't get a hold of it, we're going to definitely have some issues in Jacksonville is consistently growing. I used to call it the best kept secret in America, but it's no longer that. It's a great city. It's growing, and unless we do something about the manpower issues that we're going to face, we're going to face a serious problem. And I've gone to our city council, I've gone to our mayor, pled the case. They're giving us 40 more, and that's what I asked for, to be quite honest with you, to make sure that, one, we're fiscally responsible with taxpayer dollars. We don't want to overwhelm them, but also to make sure we are able to increase those numbers consistently yearly. And they know I'm coming back every year asking for more.
So you're hoping over the next few years we'll get to that 216 number?
That's correct. I'm hoping over the next few years we'll get to 400.
Are you optimistic that could happen?
Over the next 2 years, over the next 4 years, 216. Over the 4 years after that, should I be fortunate enough to remain in office, another 200.
Are you optimistic that we can get to those numbers?
I am. I think there's we've explained it. We've shown why we need it. This is 850 square miles. It's a very large city, and we're doing a good job, I think, with what we have. But we need more to make sure we stay on top of it.
Now, last question before I let you get out of here. We're in a time where there's been a lot of anti-Semitic actions taking place. Florida lawmakers passed a bill this year that would increase penalties for intimidating or threatening someone based on religious or ethnic heritage. How ready is Jacksonville and your deputies to start enforcing this new law?
We're absolutely 100% ready. I just recently took a trip, it's no secret, to Israel. And I saw what they're dealing with close and very, very closely, and got to understand a lot of things that I thought I knew, and I did have some knowledge about, but going and seeing it myself was amazingly impactful. I got to visit Yad Vashem, which is the Holocaust Museum, and saw how just something as just changing the way they spoke about people and turned them into something other than that, help them do what the horrible things that they did. We don't want that happening in Jacksonville. We don't want that happening in Florida. We don't want that happening in our country. That doesn't look like our country. So we are extremely prepared and ready to enforce the rules and the laws that the legislature put in place to aid us in doing and stopping that kind of activity.
Sheriff T.K. Waters, known as the coolest sheriff in the state of Florida, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Brendon. I appreciate it.
Coming up next, we have two guests joining us to give their assessments on the Trump and DeSantis presidential campaigns. Don't go anywhere.
Coming up Tuesday, November 7th, Florida's Voice Unfiltered will host a show featuring Kevin and Sam Sorbo. The show is hosted by Brendon Leslie, Patrick Dearborn, and Erica Donalds. Join us at the Alamo in Naples November 7th at 7 p.m. Tickets are on sale at floridas-voice.ticketleap.com. Get your tickets now for a show you don't want to miss.
Trump versus DeSantis. Do they have what it takes to make Joe Biden a one-term president? Joining me now to break down everything we need to know about DeSantis is Newsweek's senior editor-at-large and the host of the Josh Hammer Show, Josh Hammer. Josh, thanks for joining us.
Brendan, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate it. Now, I wanted you to give us your honest assessment of where things stand between the governor and the former president.
I mean, Trump obviously is leading. I mean, you'd have to, be a total denier looking at the polling in order to arrive at that conclusion. Now, it's worth pointing out, obviously, Brendan, as your informed audience viewership knows, that there is no such thing as a one-day national primary. That's not the way this thing works. It's obviously a state-by-state process. And really those first few states, maybe Iowa and New Hampshire above all, really do dictate the way that the rest of the race works. So DeSantis is putting a lot of chips into Iowa. I am optimistic that the governor of Iowa, Kim Reynolds, will probably still endorse him. I think that could potentially be a game changer, but obviously Trump is the leader right now. No one should deny that.
Can Iowa really be that domino type effect that the DeSantis campaign is banking on?
It could. I mean, I'm not going to confidently predict to you that it will. I mean, back in 2016, we saw that Senator Ted Cruz eked out a narrow victory in the Iowa caucuses over Donald Trump, didn't end up doing him a whole lot of long-term good. The problem there, of course, was that the field didn't consolidate particularly in time. So we're going to have to start to see not only DeSantis start surging in Iowa more, but some more field consolidation. But look, I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility. Again, I'm not here to tell your audience that it's going to happen. I'm not going to make a Joe Namath Super Bowl III style promise or anything, but I think that it is at least possible.
Do you think we're ever going to see that Ron DeSantis versus Donald Trump debate before the first primary?
I would love it to be the case. It would make for amazing television for political junkies like me and you, for those of us who kind of, eat, live, and breathe this thing for a living. That's kind of what we've wanted to happen for the past year and a half, 2 years or so. But no, I mean, realistically speaking, I do not think it's going to happen, especially in the aftermath of my friend Jenna Ellis's plea deal in Georgia lately. I mean, Donald Trump is looking, I think, increasingly shaky when it comes to Georgia. I'm sure his handlers don't want him anywhere near that debate stage for those reasons and for others. But I hope that I'm wrong, because it really would make for exceptional television.
Despite Donald Trump being up, you are definitely a Ron DeSantis supporter, and I want you to tell us why you think he's still the man for the job.
Brenda, I moved to Florida because of Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis has been the most sensational governor of my lifetime. I mean, he has totally changed the model. He has totally changed the paradigm of what it means to be a conservative leader, what it means to be a red state leader, someone who is not merely there to appease kind of the corporatist donors, someone who is not there to appease the Chamber of Commerce and just slash taxes, slash regulation to go home. And I know he is there to actually effectuate civilizational change and to use his power that's vested in him as the governor of Florida to try to elevate the forces of civilizational sanity and to suppress the forces of civilizational arson that will destroy this country if we let it run amok. He is a dynamic leader. I think that he is better on virtually all of the issues that I can think of than Donald Trump, except for maybe one or two if we really want to kind of get into the weeds that much there. I would love for him to be president of the United States, whatever the polls happen to say, notwithstanding right now.
Switching gears a little bit here, Florida announced that they've evacuated nearly 700 people from Israel. Critics say DeSantis is only doing it to boost his presidential campaign. What's your reaction?
I find that very hard to believe. I mean, Ron DeSantis has been a strong supporter of Israel. He's been someone who has very much valued the U.S.-Israel relationship going back to his very earliest days as a House Freedom Caucus founding member in the U.S. House. I mean, he has visited that country numerous times. He was there earlier this year. He gave a big speech. He's all in on that issue. And I think it is way too cynical to say that this is because of 2024 political prospects there. I mean, how about the possibility, how about kind of Trump world just considers the possibility that he is a governor of Florida who actually cares about the well-being of Floridians? It's really not that crazy of a thought, Brendan. I mean, especially someone, again, who cares about this country. That is why he's doing this.
Now, many Trump supporters here in Florida that like the governor, they're voting for Trump because they're not ready to lose Ron DeSantis as governor. Now, if he does win in a hypothetical world and becomes the next president, who takes up the mantle after him here in Florida?
I mean, as of now, I would presume that Jeanette Nunez would have the inside edge. I mean, full disclosure, I'm not sure that she would be my top choice. I'm not sure that she is kind of as dynamic a leader as Ron DeSantis was. I was personally quite high on Byron Donald. I think that Byron has unfortunately maybe kind of hurt his standing in DeSantis world with some of the choices that he has made over the past 6-7 months or so. We'll see. I mean, this state is rich with talent. There's a lot of very, very talented legislators. I mean, there's a lot of people there in the Florida cabinet in Tallahassee. So I'm optimistic that someone could emerge. But the point to the kind of the thrust of your question, we're going to lose DeSantis as governor anyway. The question is whether it's 2024 or 2026. So is 2 years really like that big of a difference when we can actually have the best possible candidate to try to save this country that's also going to the brink? I would personally take that trade-off.
Josh Hammer, thank you very much for your time. All right, now it's time to talk Trump. Joining us to share his thoughts on this race is a man you either love or hate. There's no in between. CEO of X Strategies, Alex Bruesewitz. Alex, thanks so much for joining us.
Wait, people hate me?
That's what they say on X sometimes. Like I said, it's either they love or they hate. There's no in between.
Well, that's news to me. I'm mostly loved. I think everybody likes me, and I tend to be very soft-spoken and not so opinionated on the internet. And so the fact that some people might hate me comes as a shock.
You're just a very nice young man, just minding his own business. That's all. That's all Alex does. But he has a lot of good, strong opinions of Donald Trump, and let's get right into it. Donald Trump right now is polling higher than he's ever polled against Joe Biden in 2020. What is the difference this time around?
Well, I think every single person in America can confidently state that their lives were better off under President Trump than under Joe Biden. Whether you're talking about the economy, whether you're talking about national security and the border, whether you're talking about foreign policy and the feeling of being safe in our country, every single metric President Trump beats Joe Biden on. And so the American people are willing to sacrifice a few mean tweets in exchange for cheap gas, a secure border, and a stable world. And so we're very confident going into 2024. Obviously, there's some states that changed their voting laws during the pandemic, and some changed them back. Georgia is one of the states that changed back to pre-COVID days. And so we're very confident about Georgia. But we're going to absolutely have to ballot harvest this upcoming election cycle. We're going to have to do some of the things that we didn't do in the past and Republicans were hesitant to do. And so, if we're playing the same election game as they're playing, as well as all of these different great things that we're beating Biden on when it comes to the policies, we're very confident in 2024.
Now, the former president is facing 91 felonies. Listen, we can talk about whether those felonies are justified or not, but just for the sake of the argument, he's facing them. And I wanted to get your thoughts. You're not worried about all the court time holding him back on the campaign trail?
Well, I think the American people are seeing what's happening. And every time Trump gets indicted or arrested, his poll numbers go higher. And the American people know that Joe Biden and the Democrats are simply only arresting Trump because they know they can't beat him in 2024. And so they are sick of that, and they don't want our country to go into a banana republic. They don't want our country to become a communist regime. And so they want a free and fair election. And if there is a free and fair election, President Trump will win handedly. And so, no, I'm not concerned about President Trump being taken off the ballot or not being eligible to be a candidate. I think he will absolutely be on the ballot. He will absolutely be eligible, and he will absolutely be the next president of the United States. And every American should be very concerned about what's happening with the Justice Department. And they're not just going after President Trump. They're going after everybody that is a supporter of his. You're seeing the January 6th defendants being thrown in gulags. You're seeing people like Steve Bannon that are being persecuted for not complying with a clown show subpoena from a pathetic fake congressional committee. And so, it's very dangerous, and the American people are going to push back against this in a big way.
Half my audience, diehard DeSantis people. My other half of my audience, diehard Trump supporters. I think it's a pretty even split here at Florida's Voice. So I want you to talk to the side that are the DeSantis supporters. They tell me all the time, no way Donald Trump can win over independent voters in a general election against Joe Biden, and especially if RFK Jr. is a third-party candidate. I want you to talk to that side of the audience. Why do you think he has a chance to win over those middle ground voters that really decide the election?
Because a lot of these middle ground voters have less money now than they did under President Trump. These middle ground voters are less safe than they were under President Trump. These middle ground voters are less secure. Their jobs are fleeing once again. The median income in our country is $61,000, and the median income needed to buy a home in this country at this time is $113,000. America has become unaffordable. America has become less safe. And President Trump brought prosperity back to our country economically. He brought peace and stability to the globe. He lowered illegal immigration 80%, and he can do it 100% if he has a Congress that is willing and able to work. And we just nominated and elected Speaker Mike Johnson, who is a conservative leader that will work with President Trump on these key issues. And so the middle ground voters, they care about the issues that everybody cares about. They want economic prosperity. They want peace and stability across the globe, and not having their friends and their family members and their children go overseas to die in a pointless war. They want strong and secure borders so fentanyl isn't coming in and killing their neighbors or their friends or their family members. And so President Trump delivered really great things. And I think 4 years is going by so fast. I mean, Joe Biden is going into his final year of occupying the Oval Office, and he has destroyed everything he has touched. And yes, there was a lot of vitriol and hatred, towards President Trump in 2020. But if you want to say he lost, well, he only lost by a few thousand votes in a few key states. And we're very confident going into 2024 that a lot of these people that were either sitting on the fence in 2020 or they voted the other way are going to come back around to us.
Alex Bruesewitz, CEO of X Strategies, thank you very much for the time.
Hey, thanks, Brendon. Congratulations on all your success, Ben.
I appreciate it.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Longo. I'm the owner at Naples Floral Design here in the Bed Bath & Beyond Shopping Plaza on the corner of Airport Road and Pine Ridge in the heart of Naples. We're here to serve all of our community's needs. We have a full line of tropical flowers, fresh flowers that arrive daily from all over the country. We are proud Americans, and we are very proud to sponsor the Patriot Talk Show. So if you're in my area, please stop on by and see us, or give us a call, 239-514-1414, or just go online to naplesfloral.com. Thank you so much for your patronage.
For the first time in about 50 years, Lee County voters will decide who will be their next school superintendent. In November, a referendum passed to elect their own superintendent instead of relying on the school board to appoint that position. Joining me now is superintendent candidate Denis Carlin to tell us why she's running. How are you doing, Denise?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today, Brendon?
Good, good. I appreciate you taking the time. Lee County, very near and dear to my heart. Got super conservative, but we'll get into all of that. First of all, I want you to talk about Lee County voters made their voices clear about wanting to elect their own superintendent. What is it that you believe voters are looking for?
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, so you're right. Voters demanded a change back in November. They said we're absolutely not wanting an appointed superintendent anymore that is beholden and accountable to the board. We definitely want a superintendent who is accountable to us as the voters, and that's one of the reasons why I'm running. They also wanted a conservative leader in the seat, and I am a lifelong conservative Republican, and that's why I'm running.
Yeah, it's been, for years, we had this liberal school board that was appointing their own liberal superintendent, and it made no sense being in Lee County, which is one of the reddest counties in the state of Florida. You've been an educator in Lee County for about 30 years, and on your website, you list out some of your goals as superintendent. I want you to tell us what some of those top priorities are if you're elected.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you, my number one priority, my top priority is always going to be the children of this community. And we have a lot of work to do in order to help us to become an A-rated school district once again. So I'll start out with our number one priority, and that is safe and secure schools. No parent should ever worry. They should always have peace of mind when they drop their child off at school in the morning until the very time that they walk back in the door. So that is a top priority for me. Also, we are working very hard and will work very hard to improve student achievement and our graduation rate. Let's talk about that for just a moment. Currently, we have 45% of our 10th grade students that read on level. That means over half of our 10th graders are not, and that is just completely unacceptable. Our graduation rate right now is 82.5%. Both of those statistics are some of the lowest out of all of the counties in Florida. That is, again, unacceptable, and we can do better than that. We're also very committed to empowering our parents and making sure that their voices are heard. They are truly our partners in education, and we need to make sure they are fully engaged in the work. We also are very committed, will be committed to ensuring fiscal responsibility. Brendon, each and every dollar needs to be examined closely, and we need to make sure that more of our dollars are going directly to the classroom to impact our students instead of feeding a bureaucracy. And then finally, and very importantly, we need to increase teacher recruitment and retention. Every single child deserves to have a high quality teacher in front of them in each and every class, and we will do that.
Lee County fought tooth and nail for years to get a conservative school board. We finally have one. That is just key in your relationship moving forward with them, and I want you to talk about that, how you plan to work with this board if you're elected.
Yeah, and I like you, I'm very excited about it, and I have to give a shout out to our three newly elected board members who are also, like me, conservative Republicans, and they have just gotten off to a phenomenal start. They are absolutely changing the trajectory of this school district. Now, I'm going to give you a real-life example. A couple of weeks ago, our superintendent brought forward a proposal to increase property taxes in order to help pay operational expenses. This board stopped that proposal right in its tracks, did not allow it to go forward. So I'm really proud of our board. In past boards that may not have happened, that may have gone through. This board did not stand for that. I'm absolutely committed to working with this board. They will set policy. I will work on the daily work, and together we will help make this district the very best, not only in the state of Florida, but dare I say, in the nation. We were once an A school district, and we can get back there. And with my leadership, we'll make that happen.
Shout out Jada Langford Fleming, Armor Persons, and Sam Fisher. An example I like that shows they clearly transformed the board was they've been trying to get the Guardian program passed forever in Lee County, and before the election of those three individuals, they couldn't get it to go through. They come on the board, and then they get a unanimous passing of the Guardian program.
Absolutely.
And it just shows you the impact they're having.
Yes, no question at all. And those are exactly the types of things we want to be doing, Brennan, is making sure that goes back to that very top priority I spoke with you about, safe and secure schools. We need to do everything possible. Both of our sons, my husband and I, we share two sons. We wanted them to be safe always in schools. And, anytime we get the chance to add a force multiplier behind our very, very hardworking, dedicated school resource officers, why wouldn't we? And so, I was thrilled that passed, and we need to continue to work to expand that program. Right now, we only have 6 guardians in our district, and we can do better than that. With my leadership, we'll make that happen.
Lee County Superintendent, school candidate, Denis Carlin, thank you very much for the time, and I wish you the best of luck on the campaign trail.
Thank you so much, Brennan.
Be sure to stay connected with us. Check out our website, flvoicenews.com. Hit the subscribe button right at the top and never miss another report. All right, we had to end this first episode with a happy story involving some animals. Well, here's a story out of Putnam County. An African sulcata tortoise was found 3 years later after it went missing. The owners of the tortoise have been looking for their pet since 2020. She was found not far from where she went missing. These pets are known to be escape artists that can dig out of their enclosures. How about that? I'm really glad you made it home, buddy. We all know how I am with animals and everything, so that's a great way to end this first episode of Florida's Voice with Brendon Leslie. I just want to thank all of you for tuning in. Make sure you share, subscribe, do everything you need to do to get the voice out there. It's thanks to you that Florida's Voice is going to continue to redefine the mainstream media here in the state of Florida. Alrighty, we'll see you next week. God bless.